JRPGs have always been a more niche genre in the gaming community where most people's eyes are on games like Call of Duty 17, Cold War, where every wrinkle on Reagan's face is an extra 5 gigabytes. I understand the hype behind these games, and I'm not necessarily saying they're bad, but I feel like JRPGs are usually overshadowed, or at the very least appeal to a much smaller audience. I mean, with Call of Duty, you run around and shoot things. It's easy enough for a 5-year-old to understand. Meanwhile, I can't explain Xenoblade 2 to strangers without sounding like a horny lunatic. That being said, some of my best gaming experiences have been playing JRPGs. Matter of fact, Persona 5 is my favorite game of all time. But there is one JRPG in particular that I believe is absolutely an underrated gem. And that game is The World Ends With You. The World Ends With You is a JRPG for the Nintendo DS released by Square Enix on July 27, 2007. It received positive reviews and became the second best-selling DS title in Japan the week of its release. One of the producers was Tetsuya Nomura, who has designed characters for Final Fantasy and is the lead developer for the Kingdom Hearts series. The game was praised for its unique art style, graphics, soundtrack, and use of the DS touchscreen capabilities. Which I mean is kind of a given. A DS game without touch controls is like a phone that only works when you're in the same room. Touch controls are the whole gimmick of the system. If your game can't even do that, why is it even on there? Looking at you, Advance Wars Dual Strike. Just put it on a regular console at that point. Anyway, now that you know what the hell this game is, it's time to start talking about the actual game, starting with the story. The game's story is good, with a powerful message behind it. It follows Neku Sakuraba, a reclusive, antisocial boy who is forced to compete in the Reaper's game, where dead participants compete for another chance at life by completing missions each day, for 7 days. Failure to complete the missions results in the players being erased from existence. The catch is that players have to group up as partners and need each other to fight, while Reapers are out there to get in the player's way and hunt them. Having to work with another person directly contradicts Neku's personality, which complicates things at first. Players have to give up the thing they most value as an entry fee, only getting it back by winning. Neku's entry fee is his memories, which is reflected by how the game opens with Neku waking up on the street, already in the Reaper's game. We don't know how he got there, and neither does he. The opening really puts you in the shoes of the character, which I appreciate. The World Ends With You is home to a strong cast of characters, which is easily one of my favorite things about the game. Almost every character feels important to the story and has great development, my personal favorites being Neku, the sly and clever Joshua, and the lovable meathead Beat. Shibuya is always teeming with pedestrians who are all thinking different things, so the city always feels alive, especially with the music, which is a whole different beast entirely. Even the shopkeepers have their own names and unique dialogue. You can grow on them by buying things, and their dialogue will actually change to reflect that, which I think is really cool. Each store sells different items including clothing and food that help you in battle. Oh my god, I almost forgot to mention the battle system. Another one of my favorite things about this game, and one of its most distinct qualities overall, is its one-of-a-kind battle system. The way it works is that you have various pins, each equipped with their own psych, which are essentially moves that you can pull off by inputting various touch commands such as pressing on the screen, tapping the screen, slashing enemies, shaking your device like a madman, and fun with shapes. The psychs themselves range from a simple slash, to a dash, to a boomerang, to raining freaking meteors on the battlefield. There are a ton of combinations, giving this game plenty of replay value, and I had a lot of fun experimenting with different pins. You also have partner pins that allow your partner to come into attack. Landing hits at the same time as your partner is called a cross combo, which boosts your sync percentage. Once that percentage hits 100% or more, it's time to unleash a sync attack, a super powerful attack with your partner that hits all the enemies on screen and also looks really cool. All the enemies drop different pins with different drop rates that can be altered tremendously. You can see which enemies drop what in the menu. The menu itself works fine enough. It's not Persona 5 levels of stylish or anything, but it has its charm. The noise section shows you each enemy, their HP with some other information, and their drops. The items menu lets you equip clothing or threads and food for battle.
It's a party in my mouth!
The pins menu lets you set your pins as well as sell ones you don't want. And those are pretty much the main three you're going to be using. Something I really appreciate in this game is its customization. You can change the difficulty on the fly and even set your level in battle. Lower levels give you lower HP but much higher drop rates, while higher levels do the opposite. I personally set my level low on the hardest difficulty, but that's just how I prefer to play the game. I really wish more games did this. The ability to make the game as hard as you want really helps ensure you don't get stuck on one part, without making the game too easy or too hard. You can also set the music that plays in the menu, which makes navigating it feel less like a chore, because you get to listen to some bangers while doing it. Speaking of the music, holy shit! My favorite thing with this game has to be the soundtrack. I can't really show it off too much or Square Enix will shoot me, but just take my word for it, alright? This game's soundtrack is just oozing with individuality. While Persona 5 has jazz and violins, and Dragon Quest has a more medieval feel to it, The World Ends With You goes for a much more hip-hop rap kind of feel, and it works so well. The game focuses a lot on trends and what's popular, and this music actually sounds like what you hear while walking around in Shibuya. Some players have even theorized that it's what Neku was listening to on those headphones of his. The songs even have their own descriptions in the menu that sound like a radio announcer telling you what you're about to hear. There are some real bangers in this soundtrack, and it is just so good. Sometimes I'd sit in the menu just for the music alone. One last thing I really have to give this game credit for is the replay value. After you beat the game, you get the ability to jump to any day you want, all of which have been repopulated with new challenges to complete, such as collecting certain items, hunting certain enemies, and even secret boss fights. You can also get a new difficulty level that gives every enemy an extra drop, which means even more pins to obtain. That, along with the difficulty customization, entertaining dialogue and characters, and pin combinations, makes this game something you can still enjoy after the first playthrough. In fact, while I was collecting footage for this video, my save data got corrupted and I had to play through the entire game again. This was my third playthrough at that point, but I still enjoyed it. I think it goes without saying that this is a game you'll probably play more than once if you really enjoy it like I did. Of course, no game is perfect. There are only a few things I dislike about this game, one of which being the toughest enemy in the game by far: the controls. This game first released on the DS and made full use of its touchscreen capabilities, which gave it a one-of-a-kind battle system, and I appreciate that. But at the same time, with all the touch commands, of course some are going to get mixed up. There were times when the game thought I was doing one thing when I was trying to do another, and it could be hard to hit enemies at the very edge of the screen. At the end of the day though, the controls work fine. All of my footage was recorded on the phone port. I know, right? Now believe it or not, it actually works really well. With how much this game utilizes the touchscreen, putting it on a mobile phone was a no-brainer. There were moments where the controls felt unresponsive or annoying, but they're far from unbearable. It's a shame the Switch port apparently gives you arthritis because the visuals look really good. I also wasn't the biggest fan of how the cutscenes looked, but that's hardly a complaint since there aren't too many of them and they're usually only a few seconds long. I also didn't like the final boss. I mean, come on, what the hell even is this? I had to sit in that little corner and just spam the same attack. And that's all the complaints I have, really. Most of these are just minor gripes and didn't subtract from my enjoyment all that much. All in all, The World Ends With You is a great one-of-a-kind JRPG that I really wish got talked about more. It does seem to be getting a bit of a resurgence with the announcement of a sequel that you already know I'm going to be playing, and an anime adaptation that you already know I'm going to be watching. If you're a fan of JRPGs or just getting bored of turn-based combat, I highly recommend you give this one a try. Its story, characters, battle system, customization, and especially music are a treat to experience. The game is also pretty accessible, being available on DS, mobile devices, and Switch, so assuming you're watching this on a phone, congratulations, you can play the game. And with that, thank you for watching, happy holidays, and I have but one thing left to say. Neku for Smash!
Tell me who you are and who you were. How much have you been paid? Take it easy, RELAX. Would you like to have something to drink?